Cherries, it's Jessica here from A Cherry on Top, and welcome to another YouTube hop. This hop's theme, we are focusing on love. So I grabbed these cute heart dies from Lawn Fawn, and they are the radiant heart backdrops. And so I cut 6 of them out because that's how many would fill a 12 by 12 piece of paper, and then I had to trim them down a tiny bit, so there's a stitched border that I'm cutting off, and that was enough to get them to all fit on my page. Like I mentioned, this video is for our YouTube hop, so make sure to leave a comment in the video because you will be entered to win a $25 A Cherry on Top gift certificate. And make sure to check out the rest of our design team's videos that are also on the hop. All of the links are in the description below, and leave a comment on their videos for extra entries to win. So I am inking up using a blending brush and Catherine Pooler inks all of these hearts, and I wanted the majority of the color to be in the center of the heart, and then as I move outwards the color gets lighter. And I'm going for a whole rainbow of colors. I really like using Catherine Pooler inks for inking up like this because they are very juicy and it makes the ink blending go really nicely. If I wanted a more mixed media look, I would go for the Tim Holtz inks and then mist them with some water. But for this layout, I wanted to stick with a more clean look, which is why I chose to work with Catherine Pooler. Now I'm organizing them and figuring out which colors look good next to where, and after I've got that all figured out, I'm going to start cutting out my photos into hearts. There was this leftover heart that the die cut out in the center, and I used that as a template, and I cut my hearts out just a little bit bigger than that center heart, so I'd have a little bit of room around the edges to glue down my photos. I'm using some wet glue, and all I needed was a little dab here and there, and it'll stick down. Next, with my other two, because I only was using 4 photos, my other 2 hearts, I wanted to make a couple little shakers, and I thought it would be cute if there was a dog bone in there, but I couldn't find any dog-shaped shakers. But in this Halloween set, there are some bones in there, so I'm going to pull the bones out and then also mix it with some other sequins. Now I'm working with the acetate, and I cut them out using the same sort of template that I used with the photos, and then I'm using some cherry tape to stick it on. If you peel the backing off of the cherry tape, it's able to move around quickly and easily, so that's how I moved it around and got it into the shape that I want. You could also use wet glue, which might be less fussy for this, but then you would have to wait for the glue to dry, which sometimes takes a while on acetate, so that's why I went for the cherry tape method. Once the acetate was adhered, then I went back in with some foam tape. This is 1/8 inch cherry foam tape, and I'm doing the same technique where if you pull off the backing, it makes it a lot easier to move around in shapes like this heart. I decided to put in 5 bones on each heart. There's really not like a right or a wrong with how much to fill up your shakers. I usually say about half full because that gives them still enough room to shake and move around, but not too much where everything's clogged up in there. So after I added the bones, I also am using some mini balls from Dress My Craft, and they're in all of the rainbow colors, and I thought it went really well with the rainbow ink that I added on the hearts. And it just adds a little bit of a fun element, and they're smaller than the bones, so I thought it would help the bones stand out a little bit more. Then all I have to do is close them up, so I cut out some more hearts and stuck them on there, and that was it for the shaker. But then after I turned them around, I realized you can't see the bones at all on this white backdrop. So I'm pulling off the backs and I'm going to ink them with the coordinating colors so that these bones that I added will actually be able to stand out. And I think that'll look a little nicer too because the rest of the hearts are filled with color, so it makes sense. I realized though after I peeled off the paper I needed to add some more glue, so once I had that all ready, then now you can see how you can actually see those bones in there. It can be a little tricky peeling off like this, and I thought I might have to remake it, but it turned out I was able to peel it off good enough and I just had to replace one of the hearts. My next step was finding a background for these to sit on. At first I was thinking I was going to do a white background, but it just didn't pop enough for me. I thought about doing black before I came to using this rainbow paper. This is paper from Paper Rose Studio, and it's a page that's a little bit more bold, and I think it reinforces the rainbow theme that I was going for. Next, I am popping up all of these heart panels using some foam, and I went in between all of the radiating lines from the heart to stick them all down. I needed a couple extra elements for this page, so I'm using some stamps from the Pampered Pooch collection from Photoplay. And there is a stamp of a little chihuahua, which I think once I color it, it can look just like Bambi. So I'm stamping that out with some Midnight Catherine Pooler ink, which is my go-to ink when using any coloring techniques. I'll be using alcohol markers to color in Bambi, so this ink works really well with that, which is why I'm using it. I didn't do a whole lot of color blending because Bambi is mostly one color, which is a light tan, but I did try to make it a little darker by her feet and a little lighter by her head with some pink in her ears, and I think it turned out really cute. To blend with alcohol markers, I really like using a colorless blender, and I think it just makes everything look nice and seamless. Then I fussy cut it out, and I'm going to stick it there and pop it up using some cherry dots, and then I'll work on my title. I was debating a bit what I wanted my title to be. There's some other sayings in the stamp set that work with dogs that I thought would be cute, but I ended up just going for just her name, Bambi. And these are using some of the paintable thickers from Vicky Boutin. And I first tried it with using the ink colors and went for more of a watercolor look, but you'll see towards the end I decided to go for something a little bit more bold. You guys know that I like to add some extra embellishments, and so I am sticking on some Pink Fresh jewels in coordinating colors with the hearts, and that's just to help it pop a little bit more, add a little bit more bling, and you can see what that all added. Because I already painted it with watercolor, I'm just going over it with some white paint first. This is a white paint marker, and then I'm going over with acrylic paints that work in coordinating colors. And this is the finished layout. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's really cute having photos the shape of hearts. I hope this hop inspires you to make some lovely craft projects. Thanks for watching.